workshop. We will have 5 different presentations. And now we can start with the first. The title is ACE Data for Building a Transportation Maritime Network, a pilot study in the Strait of Messina, Italy. And I invite my colleagues Corrado Rindone to share the screen. Corrado,
thank you,
here?
Tiziana. Yes.
Hello? Okay. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Do you see my presentation?
Yes.
The slide go on?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to all. Thank you, Tiziana, for your presentation. This work is about the problem of transport maritime network. And in this case, we try to analyze the potential deriving from the use of AEIS data in order to support the supply transport modeling. The context of this research is related to Agenda 2030 and to different SDGs in order to reach the perspective of sustainability for planet, people, and profit. Then maritime transport impact directly or indirectly in respect to different sustainable development goals because transport in general, transport connectivity, and in this case maritime connectivity has a direct impact respect a class, different classes of SDG and indirect impact in relation to safety, for instance, and environment. In particular, maritime transport has a relevant role because it enables economic exchange at the global level. And in particular, in this work, we focus on the role of container ships, sea routes, and port system. For this reason, it is necessary to increase the tools, the technology about tools that can produce more insight about this sector. In particular, in this work, we try to combine two main sectors: the sector of transport system theory, and in particular the potential deriving from transport supply models, and the wide application of information and communication technologies in maritime transport in order to empower the consolidated approach of transport supply models. For this reason, the research contribution of this research regards three main issues. I try to propose a sort of overview of methods and models to build a maritime transport network using the specific data in the container ship sector. The second contribution regards the use and the possibility to use the data to formalize a maritime transport supply modeling. And then the third contribution is try to realize a first pilot for building a network in a specific case study. According to this contribution, after this introduction, the presentation has three main sections. In the first section, I try to propose an overview of AIS data for maritime networks. In the second sections, I propose a possible data-driven approach related to the building of a transport supply modeling. And in the third section, I propose a sort of the main results of a pilot study in a specific context. There is a wide literature related to the automatic identification system that constitutes an oblige imposed by International Maritime Organization for a great set of ships. With this system, it's possible to monitor the ship voyage with information about spatio-temporal positions. And then it's possible to introduce a first classification of data deriving from this system in static that include structural data about the ships and dynamic data related to the movement of ships. There are different platforms that provide this kind of data, and there are generally it's possible to have a set of open data, or it's possible to have great quantity of historical data for different uses. And then it's possible to introduce another in relation to dynamic data. It is possible to have another classification related to the possible method to extract the maritime transport network. Then it's possible to have to classify the grid-based data related to a reorganization and a sort of grid index in a grid, or analyzing maritime routes as a combination of points in the case of vector-based method, and the statistic-based method that are based on statistical analysis, for instance, the clustering, for individuating the ship maritime traffic pattern. In relation to the performance, for measuring the performance of maritime transport network, we have the methods at the macro level that aggregate the possible data to the entire network and individuate travel characteristics, for instance, origin and destinations. At the micro level, it's possible to use the data in relation to a specific element of the network. For instance, it's possible to measure the port performance or route congestions at the global level. And for this reason, it is necessary to calibrate functions for calculating port performance indicators at the country level. But a first result of this work is that there is a different approach for building a maritime transport network using the data. There is specific scientific and application fields different for different disciplines, but there is a limited quantity of works that combine the data with the transport system model approaches. For this reason, in this work, I try to introduce a first approach to combine the consolidated method for transport supply network with the opportunities deriving from IS system. Then it is necessary to adapt the existing transport supply modeling, starting from a possible classification of classic transport system in analytic, where transport system is represented in aggregate form, or topologic, where infrastructure and services are represented represent a real situation, and is possible to include in the topological approach two main approaches by building a network model, then the graph approach, for instance, and the cost function for links and nodes, or system relationship. In this work, I focus on the network approach for construct the transport supply modeling. Then, in general, I recall the main element, the graph, then the maritime transport graph, that include a set of nodes that, in this case, in this specific case, are maritime crossroads, and a set of links or couple of nodes that, for instance, include represent a part of a maritime route. Then it's possible to recall the main function of the transport supply modeling, including the main relationship between link and path generalized costs, or relationship between link and path flow. These functions are used in general for a general transport supply model, but in this case, we focus and I try to adapt this function in the sector of maritime transport. The network, the transport network, is completed with the definition of transport, the cost function for each link, where the specific function represents the link cost flow functions. The level of aggregation of the network depends on the issue of the aims of the analysis. Then it's possible to recall the main maritime service characteristics that are useful to comprehend how it is necessary to build a specific model. Then we can introduce, for instance, the variable of frequency that can be high, for instance, in the Strait of Messina, or medium-low, for instance, for the connection between Messina and Salerno. Another variable, important variable that measures the extent of the schedule are regularity, and then it's possible to have regular or irregular services. Then, in relation to the simulation characteristics, we can recall the line-based approach that is an aggregated approach, representing the maritime routes and frequency that connect different ports. In a disaggregate way, it's possible to have the schedule-based approach that each line is represented by means of the single runs of the single movements in a spatio-temporal context, representing the different movement and the different ships' routes and timetable. Then, in this case, I try to start from the IS data, and then it's possible to introduce and individuate the aggregation of the main position in nodes, and then it's possible to have a representation of the graph. I try to start from a specific case study in the Strait of Messina in the south of Italy to build a sort of transport supply network starting from the IS data. It is necessary to recall that in the Strait of Messina, there is a maritime traffic separation scheme similar to a roundabout, and in relation to the VTS center, it's possible to control the traffic in the Strait of Messina. Then I try to measure some position of different ships that cross the strait in the two directions, in the direction of between Sicily and the Calabria regions, and the direction that connect Tyrrhenian and Ionian. I monitor and I collect data from different ships that follow these two directions, and from the IS data, I try to build the specific network and to reproduce the roundabout in this focus. And for this roundabout, I try to construct the link path incidence matrix. Then for closing this presentation, I try to underline the relevance of maritime transport networks, and in particular the potential deriving from emerging ICT and provided data to increase knowledge of maritime phenomenon. There are different approaches for building maritime transport networks, statistical and geographic methods, but there is a lack of TSM approach using IS data. For this, there are different limits, and then further development of this research in order to produce more insight about literature review and in order to extend the pipeline.
Corrado, can you hear me? Someone hear me?
Of course, Tiziana.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Corrado, for sharing your research. Some question? Someone like auditor? No, not yet. We can continue this workshop with the second presentation. I'm the speaker of this presentation, and the title is Improving Sustainability of Freight Transports in the Port Cities Interface through the use of the integrated approaches. This research are made by Elena Cocuzza, Tiziana Campisi, Matteo Ignaccolo, and Ellen Tuerdi. Just few seconds and I will share my screen. Can you see my screen? Do you see my screen?
Yes, Professor, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. This research is a first basis of our biggest research that introduce the concept of freight ports. In general, we can define that ports are key players in the global supply chain and are the interface between two different areas, land and sea. And in terms of transport theory, a port is a critical node of the transport network. And also ports as a strategic transport logistic role for local and global economics development. In general, maritime transport port operation made different externalities in terms of direct and direct way, and especially in terms of environmental point of view. Logistics activities also play additional environmental pressure indoors of the port interface and also on the surrounding areas where they transported goods and freight and at the end of the supply chain. And also it's better to introduce also the other concept that the traffic of goods and entering leaving the ports by road can influence the dynamical overview of the urban traffic flow. In this way, we decide to start our research considering to analyze the sustainability concepts of our freight transport in the context of our port cities, considering and shared also an integrated approach. Our research starts with the three different steps. The first, analyze the main criticalities in the port city interface and the inland port areas. Act in terms of rules and the regulation, especially in European context. The second step is linked to the literature review, and in this way, we define a summarizing table in order to define the sound practice, the usual practice, in order to mitigate the environmental impacts, introducing also the typology, the methodology, and also the action applied. And in the third step of our research, we analyze the main European freight case studies and compare three newest ports such as Catania, Trieste, and Koper. And we define in the same way a table in order to take into account city port connection. In general, the main criticalities in the port city interface and also in the inland port areas are linked to environmental sustainability of mobility. In general, vehicular traffic are very hard and generate a big impact on the air qualities and also greenhouses emission. In this way, sustainable management of this area can help to reduce the general environmental impacts made by vehicular traffic and in the same way promote the adoption and the application of a more efficient and sustainable mobility solution. It is important to define these externalities in order to reduce the level of air, noise, and water pollution, and that can generate a risk for the health and the welfare of the citizen, and above all, residents that live in this area. In 2022, the European Seaports Organization defined the top of the 10 priorities for each port in order to mitigate sustainability and environmental problems. And in this slide, we can see the 10 priorities for this list. This list was made in 1996, And during the difference here, we can observe the changing position list of difference variables. You can see, for example, that in the first here that was generated this list, the port development, especially water, was the first priorities. And in 2022, climate change, in accordance with Agenda 2030 and Green Deals and other rules, became the first position. In general, the common measure and also the best practice in order to change the traditional port in green ports in order to reduce the air, noise, and water pollution are defined by the application of some strategies such as the low emission zone, the urban road tolls, other access regulation, pollution emergency, and also zero emission zone. There are some lack in the rules and also in the general regulation because transport and logistics activities are not always foreseen in the urban planning and transport plan, but very often they are also carried out by private companies. The sustainable management of the port city interface and the surrounding areas can contribute in order to general reduction of the environmental impacts made by freight transports, adopting more efficient and sustainable mobility solution. And in this way is better to adopt some solution in order to mitigate these externalities. We summarize on this first table the different type of impacts, the methodology adopted, searching by literature review, and also some general action adopted in order to reduce this type of impacts. The general impacts are made by noise, emission of excess gases, and other pollutants in terms of air and water area, and also the overlapping flow between network with the local function and gas distribution network. In the same research, in the same step, we introduce and observe the main solution adopted to the biggest or the main famous port city interface area. For example, we observed that in the port of Rotterdam was adopted a strategic plan for sustainability in order to reduce the CO2 emission and in order also to encourage energy efficiency and promote in the same way intermodality. In Rotterdam, the authorities, the port authorities, define a low emission zone with a limited traffic zone in order to reduce the air pollution. In the ports of Hamburg was adopted an integrated transport strategies in order to reduce the private vehicle traffic and also to promote the intermodalities. And in the same ports, the ports authorities developed a traffic management system in order to improve the efficiency of their transportation. One of the biggest applied solution will be in the port of Valencia in Spain that adopt several measures in order to improve sustainability of the port city interface, considering also the renewable energy source, the promotion of the intermodal transport, and also the implementation of traffic control system. Some action applied in Valencia regard, for example, the use of the renewable energy source, the use of the alternative means of transport such as electric vehicle and bicycle, and some recycling and waste reduction program. In the ports of Copenhagen, The ports authorities adopt sustainable strategies in order to reduce also the CO2 emission and promote energy efficiency and intermodality, and promote also the use of low emission technologies, introducing a shore-based power system for ships in order to reduce the use of diesel generators while in the ports. In this way, after this comparison of some action defined in our European context, it is necessary to introduce some phases, some action necessary in order to develop sustainable strategies. It is very important compare this action to define an integrated approach. In this way, we can harmonize the coordination, implementation of different policies in a different time, and also the other initiative made by different parties involved. It is very important also to promote the involvement of different internal and external stakeholders and encourage the cooperation in terms of shared and inclusive planning. It is also important to establish a coherent, active vision and some objectives for the port city connection areas based on the assessment of the actual situation. It is also necessary to define and plan an adequate infrastructures and services in order to create more safer, efficient flow of traffic, and in the same way to support the commercial activities and the accessibility of these areas in terms of residents and citizens. It is also necessary to define some ensure cooperation and coordinate in different, considering the various authorities, and it is better to apply also a regularly monitoring approach in order to trend this type of specific variables and parameters that can suggest and show the decrease of these environmental impacts. In this research, we decide to compare three ports located, two in Italy and one in Slovenia. We define to compare considering four different aspects: geographical proximity, transportation infrastructures, and logistic and trade. And also we introduce also something about urban planning. And we define this table in order to promote for the port authorities, the municipalities, and other some possible action in order to reduce the impact in this context. This table and this research want to contribute to define and highlight some solution in order to spread the decarbonization of maritime transport, and also in terms of reduction of pollution in the port system, but also in the containment of the environmental impacts of port activities as well. We define a short introduction about our analysis of literature on the main European ports in order to summarize the different solutions adopted and the possible future strategies that can be applied, considering also the development of digitalization of the ports and the growth from first to five port generation. And in general, this research underline that there is not only a necessity of a reduction in pollution, but it is necessary in the same time an improvement of the operational efficiency and safety of this area. We define something considering the highlight successful initiative in terms of ports of Rotterdam, Hamburg, Valencia, and Copenhagen. And we define some highlight the importance of proactive measure in order to reduce define the low emission zone, and also the integration of renewable energy, and especially considering the port city interface. We also adopted our first case study comparing Catania, Trieste, and Koper ports, illustrate and highlighting different approach adopted by different ports that define and underline also the specific context and the challenges of each one. And we need to underline that it is very, very important for the future step, not only about plan, but also by design, and during the control and monitoring also, to introduce some integrate approach in order to mitigate this type of impacts, and in order also to increase and encourage some economic competitiveness and improve the sustainability of freight transport in this interface. We will also positive impacts in this way for residents who live in the surrounding areas, and not only about the port areas. And in this way, it is essential to introduce also some emerging challenges, and also to define better some sustainability goals for the port city interface, not only in the European but also in the global context. This research was partially supported by the project TETI, and that introduced something about the monitoring, control, and the safety of the sea aspects. Thank you for your attention. Some question? Okay. I want to continue our workshop, and now I introduce the third presentation titled Enhancing Climate Resilience in Maritime Ports, a Decision Support System Approach. The authors are Amalia Polidoropoulo, Estatios Bouras, Ioannis Karakikes, and Georgios Papaioannou. Estatios, are you the speaker?
Hello, everyone. Thank
Okay.
you, Professor Capizzi.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. I will try to share my screen, and hopefully it
Sure.
will work, because I have two screens, and I will manage. I will try to do my best now. Please let me know if you can see the proper first slide, and if
Yep.
the slide changes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Now, as Professor Capizzi introduced, this is our research, our paper Enhancing Climate Resilience in Maritime Ports, a Decision Support System Approach. And Professor Capizzi presented us measures and ways to achieve port sustainability. Now, I will steer the wheel close to a different direction, and this is to achieve ports resilience against the impacts of climate change, not resilience overall, but against the impacts of climate change. Before I start, I would like to mention that our research is directly linked to the research project RESPORTS, which is entitled Enhancing Resilience for Greek Ports, and it is funded by the Green Fund. It's a Greek national research project. It is funded by the Green Fund, as we call it in Greek, Prasino Tamio, and the beneficiary is the Department of Shipping, Trade and Transport of the University of the Engineer. We all understand that maritime ports are crucial infrastructures, and we have to be prepared to do what we can, the best way that we can, to overcome issues concerning sustainability or resilience. To do that, we focus on the port's resilience against the impacts of climate change. It's not for me to say if climate change is real or not. Someone can just open the news, and he or she can decide based on what he or she reads and sees whether climate change is real or not. But we focus on the maritime ports resilience because in Greece we have over 150 Greek ports identified and acknowledged by the Greek government. So we thought that it would be the best for them to do something to develop and introduce tools to enhance their resilience. To do that, we came to the conclusion that a decision support system is needed. And by a decision support system, I do not mean the DSS based on a digital twin approach. It is mid and long-term DSS, decision support system, based on a more strategic level. And to do that, we needed data, and to collect the data, we developed a questionnaire addressed to the port authorities. From the over 150 Greek ports, in reality, the number is 154. We've sent the questionnaire to over 90 of them because the other 60 or so were too small to get data which would be beneficial for us and could be used. And we do all that because the RESPORT is an ongoing project to achieve resilience, of course, sustainability and the adaptability of the Greek maritime ports to the climate change. As I said, we had to collect data. We shared all the open source data and sources, and we collected data about the infrastructural, operational futures of the ports. But we knew, and we still know, that the developed questionnaire would be the best way. Unfortunately, the response rate is not what we hoped or expected. But yet, the data collected will be used to develop a port resilience index. This port resilience index will allow us to rank the ports in relation to their resilience, and then through an AHP, an analytic hierarchy process, we will combined with the port resilience index, we will develop the DSS. And we need the AHP to determine the weights for the selected indicators. The selected indicators are based on criteria and sub-criteria. These are the main criteria regarding the infrastructural resilience, the operational and supply chain resilience, and you can see the number of the indicators used by us, the digital resilience, socioeconomic and environmental resilience, and governance and compliance resilience. And you can see in a schematic, in a figure, how this AHP is distributed to the is based on this criteria, sub-criteria. Our selection on these criteria was predicated more or less on the creation of an efficient DSS, which address the long-term strategic requirements of the maritime ports rather than their daily operations, day-to-day operations. And because we lack on the response rate of the data collected by the questionnaires by the port authorities, we have 15 field questionnaires over the 90. That's 70% the response rate. A solid one, but not the best one. We had to choose indicators that were not based on quantitative data, but also on qualitative data. We thought of changing the AHP to an ANP based on the variables, if they were dependent or independent, but that's just a statistical issue. And we concluded that over 90% of the indicators use qualitative data to overcome the lack of really crucial data. Now, the low response rate is mainly based on the fact that many of the ports in Greece are privatized, and under a private administration, they refuse to give us feedback because they consider this kind of data sensitive. We can understand that, but although we declare that this data will be confidential and used only for the needs of in the framework of the project, up to today, they refuse to give us feedback. In order to implement the AHP, we had two choices. The classical one is to address the AHP and criteria, sub-criteria to 20 or so experts. And the other one, it was to follow the living labs approach. The living labs are these tools, methodologies, processes that allows to stakeholders to participate in an event, exchange ideas, exchange their opinions, discuss, and create a safe threshold for all of them. And the European Commission in the last 4 or 5 years tends to identify the living lab as an official tool. You can see on the figure how our approach was structured, and more or less is what I've presented so far, visualized. And what we find out, we implemented living labs at the ports of Chios, on the island of Chios, at the port of Volos, which is in the region of Thessaly in the mainland, and just 2 weeks ago at the port of Heraklion and the island of Crete. They were successful. It is highly possible that we will go back to these living labs to present to the stakeholders the results of our research. And they were successful because we had too many stakeholders participating and exchanging ideas and participating to the AHP methodology and giving us feedback, which allowed us to calculate the weights. And we think that it is a most direct way and more safe way to have them giving us feedbacks and calculating the weights that we need for the AHP. So the living labs, the LLs, as you can see, were quite successful, and hopefully will be in case that we go back to those ports. Now, during those living labs, we had the AHP, as I mentioned, and we had the stakeholders using a digital tool to give us their opinion using a Likert scale on several questions. The majority of those port authorities, based on the questionnaires, these figures concern the questionnaires, which were sent back to us, collect and analyze data on climate parameters, mainly concerning wind speed, direction of the wind, the height, length, period, direction of the waves, and the water quality. For specific areas, however, not for the entire area of the ports. And you can see on the figure regarding which additional information would be useful for developing a climate adaptation plan. You can see that the 35% of those authorities consider vulnerability assessments of port infrastructure, 38% the economic impact assessments, and 27% the engagement of stakeholders, which is a high percentage, taking into consideration the fact that we had living labs implementing. Now, the port authorities were also asked about their opinion on how feasible would it be to reinforce existing infrastructure or build new infrastructure, as well as implement adaptation measures to address possible future extreme events related to climate change. Our team has a smaller team of experts who simulated extreme events, mainly to sea rise level, based on the RSP 8.5 scenario, which is the worst case scenario. And they visualized these simulations and were presented to the port authorities during these living labs, and they were quite shocked when they realized the areas that would be covered by seawater in case of these extreme events. Now, regarding the specific question, the port authorities have, the majority of them has a neutral opinion about this question on whether they could or should reinforce existing or create new infrastructures. However, there were 6 in total port authorities that considered it as very or absolutely feasible. Now, this is a flowchart, I could say, about how our idea and our approach is developed. We have the DSS, which now is being developed. We'll include and incorporate disruption scenarios, and based on these scenarios, candidate solutions will be presented, explained, and developed. The living labs will provide us with the necessary data for the weights, for the AHP, which will allow us to calculate the PRIs for the maritime ports. And the data, of course, will be combined with the weights of the AHP. And then the DSS will do the optimal matching, pairing between the PRI and the recovery actions per case. And at the end, we'll propose actions to be implemented on a medium and long-term period, not on a day-to-day operation. Our research identified the need for the measures to be taken and actions to be taken and policies to be implemented. And the living labs reveal the necessity of stakeholders in being engaged and involved into these processes and openly discuss with honesty in a safe environment about the problems, about the needs to co-develop these tools as the DSS or a PRI. Now, the main limitation of our research so far is that we have a low response rate on the questionnaires. We do hope that this response rate will be increased over the 4 months until the end of the project. But to be honest, it is what it is. We will work on what we have. And the second limitation is that the DSS is up to date under development, so we so far haven't been able to evaluate its effectiveness. This is from me. Thank you very much for your attention. If there is any question, I would be happy to answer.
Thank you, Stadios. Are there some questions? Not yet. We can continue our workshop. Now is the time of our 4th presentation. The title is Time of Ships in Container Ports, ACE Data for Maritime Transport and Ports Application. The authors are Antonio Polimeni and Orlando Marco Belcore. Orlando, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. I'm trying to manage to propose my presentation. Just a minute. Maybe I have to choose the right screen.
Yeah.
Okay. I suppose that is okay now.
Yeah.
Confirm this.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a moment to reduce. Okay, perfect. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning. I'm Orlando Marco Belcore from the University of Messina with my colleagues Antonio Polimeni. We have produced this preliminary job about our project. The work we are going to introduce is part of our PRIM project that we are conducting from Messina in collaboration with Reggio Calabria. And maybe some of the things that we are going to introduce now maybe will look similar to the one that previously was introduced by Professor Rindone, because the argument, the theme is the same. Of course, what we are going to look now is, of course, a state of art, but it's mainly focusing on the possibility enhanced by onboard devices on ships in order to have an overview over the performance and the capability offered by maritime terminals. It moves. Okay, perfect. I introduce you the objective of our project, the fact that we are in the preliminary phase. So we have already organized this comprehensive review that we are going to see now. We also moved over this, and we start organizing a magic data set obtained from free open source over IS information. Now I will go to introduce you how they are organized and what XPC are. Our further steps will be over the identification of some determinants to go more inside on the terminal performance and the opportunity to simulate directly, only using or mainly using ICE data about measures to take a look to the performance of the terminal. just to say why is important this, because of course the 80% of total goods interchanged around the world are transported by sea, and why we have decided to use ICE data, of course, because they can be considered as big data, and also because the introduction for these devices, onboard devices, is mandatory from the beginning of the century, and most of the vessels that are around the world are equipped with this. So looking at the IS information will give us a portrait of the situation at the moment, also the historical one. So the outline of our presentation is the introduction to IS. The IS is the acronym for Automatic Information Systems, the state of art. So what we have reconstructed by now from the most common use for these devices, the remarks, and then I offer you as a small appendix with some of the words that we have used for our paper. How is the IS network? IS network is composed by a sort of GPS system, like our mobile phone, if we want to simplify it. It composed by on-vessel devices that transmit information about three main kinds of information that are static, cinematic, and also en route information. And then I will choose also a table just to see it more specifically. Satellite system that let us to exactly know the location of the vessel, and also on land system, because of course we have to also to imagine to consider that also before the introduction for IS system, maritime terminal were equipped with a similar system that is commonly known as vessel traffic system, that was principally important for the security and safeness of the area and to control the traffic over the sea. Okay, before I told you about this data structure, the main important things, we just remember that we have static, the dynamic, and en route information. So MMSAE is like the name of the vessel, because it's the unique code that is assigned to each one. So let us to know exactly what of the vessel is on the moment we are looking to in this table. The status is not always present in all database, mainly in free database. It regards about the semantic of the status of the navigation. For example, number like 1 on 5 reconduct to handling operation at the berth, or for example only anchoring time. Other number that goes from 0 to 15 may be reducing to fishing operation, or also on moving state. Speed, of course, is also a cinematic information. Latitude and longitude are the two main important things, because let us to know the position of the vessel. Course and heading, or here we introduce other cinematic information about speed and rotation over the north angle. Timestamp helps us with the position. Length, width, and route are also static measure that let us to know specific information over the vessel. And also there are not here introduced, but it's possible also to know the previous port, the next one that the vessel is going to visit. Now we move to the portrait of the state of art. Of course, we have to say just in this step that is not simply possible to analyze IS data and have a full portrait of the situation, because most of the time IS data have to be integrated with other sources. But of course, the main capabilities of the most important things from this tool concern the fact that in such way they let you to avoid maybe long review, interview with port terminal terminators or shipping companies. So in such way, allow you to examine the ship en route or static information, not to conduct a direct survey, of course. So we start for example, in a job, in a project, in a workflow, to analyze IS data and then concentrate most of the strength in other information that are not possible to achieve from this data. Several researchers deal with this data and other concerning also matching with other sources. And the main focus were over safety and security, emission assessment, so risk assessment before and environment assessment after, route and plan estimation, data fusion, because I just remember you that is important to match with other, and the one that is most important for us, for our is port performance. Now I'll try to have a simple scheme about all of these that I introduced. So if we speak about safety and security or risk assessment, we have historical and real-time data assimilated from disease, and also other database used from collisions. And the objective from several researchers was about ship collision with other ships or obstacle collision, in order to study the possible trajectory and try to stay a step before the incoming process. Approach user mainly concern statistical analysis over historical data, and also simulation approach based on discrete event or multi-agent, or the statistical method based on linear regression in order to say if an event occur, which are the main factors that conducted to this. It's also maybe be a weather condition. I forgot to insert also this data, or of course something that is going wrong in information, in communication, exponential density over the area, or other vessels that have not on board its devices, and so make some interference with the normal condition, of course. Emission assessment is always based on historical recollection or data or other devices that could be introduced, like for example SAR investigation for satellitary images. The objectives for many researchers concern or route emission, exactly like to say how to perform better engine factor or speed and flow condition to arrive in time or on time at the terminal, just to reduce also the consumption for fuel, or also study that concern similarly to what's also before explained by Tiziana, the importance about the on-port state and emission in the nearby area, and the side effect produced by freight distribution. Of course, the approach mainly can be resumed by what-if scenario in policy analysis, also to study the effect produced by this possible introduction, and or mechanical, as I said before, about the possibility to study trajectories and flows or other route in order to reduce the impact of the navigation. Route estimation is not so different from some what we have seen before. It's also recollected on something that before was introduced by Professor Rindone. I was not aware about this, so it's funny to see that some of the things that I am going to say to you, to share to you, are really close to the other presentation. This is good to me. Okay, we have source about historical data or route information and other source that may be derived always from satellite or not authoritative or authoritative devices over control and security. And this led the analysts to make forecasting about route trajectory, reconstruct a graph for the naval shipping traffic, make clustering analysis over more dense area, or also observing time shift, or also I can say interruption of the service, delays, ordinary or not ordinary disruption to the navigation status. Also, weather condition may affect, of course, so it's important to match our IS data with other source about weather service in order to also figure out possible delays about the expected time arrival at the port. This is also most important for the terminal manager, because unexpected time that is proposed by the shipping company, you have to organize your schedule. So the possibility to forecast before an expected delay let us to use your berth at best, and also organize a different scheduling. Now we come to the final stage, so port performance. At the core of the model, we always have the IS data, historical or real one, that we have to match with authoritative or non-authoritative source of information. Sometimes it's possible to add them for free directly online. Sometimes it's necessary to make further interview to analyze specific condition in a terminal. What is possible to achieve directly from IS data is, of course, the number of port calls over a period, the density in an area. We have already managed to do this using free data from over a repository from the Australian ports. Also analyze as gross the berth productivity, because ICE data inform us over the land route, the maximal tonnage over the ships. So we have a macro information that can be matched with report from the port manager that tell us to know which is the income or over translation of tails. So this collect us with output. Of course, to manage handling simulation, it's also necessary to move a step forward and know which is the equipment and the workload at the service of the infrastructure and simulate this. So it's a further step that, of course, only IS data don't let you to know. But what is important to figure out at the moment, it's as first over the full navigation status, and also in the anchoring time and in the berthing status, IS data let us to divide step by step, only using simple filtering and data mining to intercept this semantic of the navigation and have a macro data over, for example, the elapsed time at the port. Okay, remarks about I have already spoken about this. So the paper at the moment highlighted the most common use for IS data, safety and security and environmental analysis as the first that emerged in the research. Performance is still ongoing. It's important to say that over the beginning of the century they are using this, so it's always more common to see it, to see or use the IS data matched with the machine learning or other sorts of other interpolation analysis. Okay, maybe some of them also produce extrapolation analysis for machine learning. I don't agree with this, but it's not important now. Historical data prove to perform as a useful tool. It's important to mix it with other sources. However, we can say that historical and also real-time IS can be a good candidate to study what happens in a maritime terminal, also what is going to happen or happened over the navigation. Thank you to being here. I finished it. The further are only information about some of the use of the paper.
Thanks to Orlando. Are some questions? I have just a curiosity. Are there other study or other pilot case that define the same approach on straight? Do you know if other country or other areas, similar areas, introduce the same approach?
Over the Strait of Messina, do you mean?
Oh, just like.
Okay. Well, our main focus is over container port. The area of Messina is only a passage for the traffic area. But if you have to consider that maybe the Strait of Malacca can be considered a similar cases. Also, in the striped bus in Australia is the area that is between Melbourne and Tasmania. Here we have an interesting conflict because, of course, the port of Melbourne is protected, but after the bay, there are two different line of transit. The one that goes to the other part of the coast and moves to the Far East, and the other one that go south to the Tasmania, because it's like this port is an hub for the area. So yes, maybe we can say yes, of course.
Thank you for your replies. Are other question? Not yet. We can complete our workshop with the final presentation. Are there here Antonio Russo? Not yet. I think that I need to don't monopolize this workshop, but I need to introduce this research because I'm also one of the other authors. I want to show finally our last presentation. Just few seconds and I will share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Not yet, Professor.
Okay, I want to try again. Just now, I think that do you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see the PDF file and the first
Okay.
slide.
Perfect. I want to introduce the final topic. The title of this research is the importance of the centrality of ports for passenger transport in the Adriatic Ionian Basin. The author are myself, Antonio Russo, Ellen Tuerdi and Marina Zan, and Professor Giovanni Tesoriera. I want to introduce this concept considering the different aspects that was related to the sustainability in the transport sector. And I introduce on this slide some concepts related to the white paper and also Agenda 2030. Since 2013, the European Union has been organized some action in order to cooperate in the transport sector along the Trans-European Transport Network that includes different transport modes. Agenda 2030 and the relative goals emphasize the importance of using more sustainable transport modes in order to reduce the use of private and cars use and also the airplane use. Given the number of the sea basins in the European context, it is very important to study the connectivity in this transport area, and our research will be considered some of them. It is important also to introduce some percentage, some number that describe the difference action for freight and passenger. And I want also to underline that we decide to spread our studies considering passenger aspects, because maritime tourism is constantly evolving and moving towards more sustainable solution. But at the moment, there are less research on passenger respect than the freight aspects. And a low number of studies also define and describe some measuring about node connectivity, and also in the same way consider local and global and distribution of this sector of this problem. We introduce our research considering some opportunities that are defined by the topic of the passenger transport, sea passenger transports, and we decide to study the centrality considering sea network in terms of passengers, and underlining the gap, and also evaluating if there are some point of strength and weakness. We also underlined with our section, with our research, the evolution of the ports and the role of passenger ports today, and underline several indicators considering the network analysis that define and show different aspects about centralities terms. And in the final part of this research, we illustrate the results of this methodology applied on some contexts of Ionian Adriatic Basin, and we define some discussion and conclusion. We introduce our passenger maritime transport, considering also the spreads and the different growth of the port generation made by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Developments. And it is very important to underline the different connection concepts, and also the technologies development that was introduced from first to the 5th generation ports. It is very important on this way to understood and understand the rules of good connectivities, but because it is very crucial for the growth of the ports, and not only for the ports but also for the surrounding areas. We introduce our research considering a first step about network analysis, because we decide to apply this type of methodologies, and we compare different research work in order to understand the benefit and the criticalities of network analysis approach made in different contexts. And in this way, we observe that network analysis was applied in different contexts, such as social science or urban planning. And in terms of transport network, we observe more different network analysis approach relating to air transport and also rail transports. It is very important for us to apply also network analysis in the maritime transport in order to define some actions, some strategies, in order to improve the port connection in the sea basin, and also in order to evaluate port policies in the context of a global container and passenger transports, such as our case studies. And in this way also we underline that the studies connectivities in the enclosed basis, considering passenger transports. We define also and underline that the complex network analysis was considered in a global maritime supply chain studies, considering also before and after COVID pandemic in the last year. We define different steps of our research that was showed in this next slide. The first will be some general aspects, define the study areas and the monitoring time periods. In fact, we need to apply the network analysis considering a maritime scene basis of reference, at an interval time and a specific criteria in order to identify the port network. We define also not only the link but also the nodes that complete this type of network, and also we compare two different parameters in order to have some quantitative definition related to the difference link. Just like the second step, we define something about data acquisition. In this way, we found some details, some characteristics related to the ports, the service, and also the actor involved, considering a specific basis, such as Ionian Adriatic basins. In general, the central element of the analysis is the existence of one or more services that connect two ports. We define in this way a generic pair of nodes, and also we define different destination in accordance with the general theory of network analysis, and we consider in particular how the first and the final do not need to belong to the reference basis. In this way, also the existence of a connection between the general nodes and the general link EJ make their consideration such as essential. We define also the definition of the matrix of adjacency matrix in order to define our specific parameters in terms of the difference interval time. And in this way, we observe two different parameters indicate on the next slide, such as describing the centralities concepts. And in this way, we define the first indicators, such as the degree centralities and also the strength centralities. Both of them are complementary because the first measure the number of relationship between two different nodes, E and J, and also measure the centralities of a node considering only the existing connection with the other nodes. The second parameters define and quantify for each node the number of service with the node J, for example, which is connected with the other. And in this way, we define it and we consider the application to the port system that can be carried out by considering different periods on the same work, especially summer and winter period, defining in this way the possible different strands. And also we observe the possibility of existence of predominantly tourist destination that can be determined. They need to consider a seasonability phenomenon in this test, in this context, in this system, and also evaluating the centralities and the changing of centralities. Just like described on the first slide, we decide to underline the context of Adriatic Ionian Basin. And we can define generally that this basin is an open basin in the western coast is entirely Italian, while the eastern coast is divided by 6 different states such as Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Albania, and also Greece. They observed that the 5 Adriatic countries are very different coastline terms of extension, and we underline also that Croatia and Albania are predominant. Montenegro and Slovenia has a smaller extension, and the Bosnian coastal strip has a small also extension. Then we defined on this slide also some approach considering the investigated basin and also the TNT network And we also fixed our work considering the passenger ports, such as partially or totally passenger ports, included at least one national and international passenger service routes. And just like the first criteria, we decided to describe this research considering three different criteria. The first allow to define the main scope, the aims of application, limiting the study on the base level. And we underline that the connection with the smaller island, for example, are often linked to the specific constraints to the territorial continuity, and we decide to eliminate this part of studies. Just like the second criteria, we define in our study a limited port area, considering the systematic characteristic of a passenger traffic flow. And such as the third criteria, we define to create a fully connected network on the least 1 month of year. And such as like described in our table, we define some ports and relative countries, and also the characteristics such as core and comprehensive typology. In this way, the ports are all, we can observe that all ports investigated, all in the European Union countries, with the exception of the ports of Dares, that indicates as a ports of the comprehensive network extended to the neighboring countries. Also on the basis, the operators, the service, and also the nodes of the network has been identified, and it is possible to define the number of services that connect each node for different interval time. And also it is necessary to underline also the seasonability of the service investigated. And it is possible to see this seasonability problem considering also the graph described on this slide, where the main peak was on the summer periods and the flat was during the winter periods. In this way, we observed and we defined the scheme of our network analysis considering two different periods, for example, the period of July and the period of November. And for each difference, highest and lowest average number of services per week, we defined also our specific centrality parameters such as C-CUNY and S-CUNY in order to analyze the different trend of each period. In this way, we can observe some and we can define some consideration because we observe during this trend description that Dubrovnik that was related to our investigated area has not connection with the other nodes of the network, while Split and Zadar forms such as a independent system. It is very important to underline also that they act a connector node with the different smaller Croatian islands. The most evaluable ports investigated on our studies is Jugomenica. That could be the Greece gateway to the Ionian Sea and the main connection hub. Jugomenica port shows some connection with the 4 different Italian ports and also with the ports of Patras in the north of Peloponnese, and that define also notable values of both centralities parameters. In terms of Italian ports, the most significant values are associated with Ancona and also with Bari. And the two nodes share similar connection in the months of July, the 2-week ports Split and Durazzo, but the connection with Zadar and Dubrovnik respectively. And define also during our research some evaluation of the centrality parameters And we observe that this centrality trend tends in favor to Igoumenitsa, Patras, and in terms also our Italian ports, Ancona and Bari. We can underline also that there is a lack of Italy connection in this context, vice versa, such as Greece connection. The service connecting Igoumenitsa to Patras are so popular and often include several Ionian islands, such as Corfu. Likewise, there are several Croatian services which also serve the smaller islands. The centrality of Greek ports shows also an high values. This is probably linked to the geographical proximities to the different Italian ports and also to the presence of several tourist resorts in the western Greece and to the Greek geographical conformation and the lack of a direct territorial continuities between Epirus and Peloponnese. The centralities values of Italian ports underline also the absence of connection between Italian ports, especially because there are different other type of transport modes developed on this context, such as high-speed rail connection. And the opposite situation occur in the Tyrrhenian Sea, in terms of Italy, where there is a dense network of services that connect the main ports in accordance with the two large islands. The low centralities values of Croatian ports instead reflects an even less dense situation. Croatia has coastal developments and different small islands. There are several ports of global and local importance, but many of them are mainly likened to the services of the smaller islands. And finally, we underline also that the importance of the ports of Dares of Durazzo in the maritime connection between Italy and the Albania context. Although the port is relatively little central at the system level, and it assumes good importance in the relationship between the two different countries. This research in this way was a first step of an investigation of the Mayon research that was focused on different sea basins in order to consider European, not European countries. Our services at the core and the global network level at the Adriatic analysis was studied, and the focus was placed on this context in terms of passengers and the RoPax transport services, and it aimed to identify the most central nodes and in order to define some weight that characterize each node. And the research highlighting the Adriatic Sea such as an open basin and introduce the interaction between different systems. And the research was limited to the analysis of services involving core, comprehensive and extension ports, as long as they are involved in the service network. For the future step, we want to define a new analysis and quantitative approach in order to combine the results of port connectivity and centralities with the other aspects relating to the other transport modes. We need also to test for the future steps whether port connectivity is complementary or alternative, for example, considering the rail connectivities. And also, like future step, we want to have the possibility to define a developing connectivity work for a maritime service in order to consider the entire transport of goods in the same basis that we are just investigated for passengers. And these preliminary concepts underline and also define the basis for different actors, such as researchers that can be investigated in this type of sector. for shipping companies that can improve the investments on this connection, and also can be a basis for the public administrator improving, for example, the port city interaction, and also implement more solution in terms of sustainability, not only for user but also for the companies. And this is it. I want to thank you for the attention, and I want to ask you if there are some questions. Okay, there is not question. I want to thanks to each one. Just like underlined by Orlando, I'm so happy that all research are complementary in order to discuss the main concepts of this workshop about sustainability, and also the developing action in order to introduce better ports in the future. We can close this section. I want to thanks to each one, and I hope to have a nice day. Bye.
Bye everyone. Thank you.
Buona giornata a tutti.
So just with the 5 to 10 minutes. If you want to check something.
No, non ne fa niente. Non ne fa niente. Se lo diciamo che andiamo là, di cancellare le carte, dai.
C'è proprio con la stanza. Quando è distanza? Perché si stanno motivando, no?
La chiave della terra.
Oltre di tutta la squadra.
A cercare.
Sì, sì. Comunque non hanno finito né in una sessione né nell'altra.
Ah,
Quindi
e vabbè, sei in ritardo.
ok. Stasera che ore faccio? 7:30. Alle 7:30. Allora quindi per domani facciamo il tour. Sì. Io se c'è qualcun altro mi invento il link. C'è chi? Esce qualcuno. Ok. Sì, adesso ci di nuovo vegani. Siamo a 14. Però bisogna pagare una parte.
I think that we can start the session.
Esatto, con la lente
Now we will start the session with the paper from so the first paper that we will present is with the title itself, Basic Prosthetic Hand with an Integrated Mobile Application. And the author is Chao Fan T, and the second author is Yuri Dan. And now I think that we can start the presentation. Is this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello. Thank you for the introduction. My name is greetings everybody. My name is Wu Zhengheng. Today I'm gonna talk about the project which I have accomplished under the guidance of Mrs. Mati Chow. The project name is SCMG-based prosthetic hand with an integrated mobile application. This project can act as a proof of concept for, generally speaking, low-cost prosthetic hand with the ability to.
Let me share the screen to the audience. Sorry, just 1 second.
Do I need to redo the whole thing?
You can proceed.
All right. For the low-cost prosthetic hand, with the ability to predict the user intended movement based on the signal of the forearm muscle and a mobile application that come along with it. In this representation, I would break it down into this main part, with its introduction, type and prosthetic, and the basic type of hand movement. The hand is like itself, and then finally is a conclusion as well as takeaway from it. It is estimated roughly 4 million people around the world suffer amputation, hand amputation. And these vast around people not only have to suffer the lost function as their lost limb, but also have to go through anxiety, and to somewhat improve their quality of life, we call breast prosthetic. And there's two main types of prosthetic. That is passive and active. The passive one is just generally intended for only one function. That could be against a hammer, plier, or just for purely cosmetic. The second type, in the other hand, no pun intended, is active, and it would also divide into two main categories. That is mechanicals and electronics. The mechanical also tend to be more reliable, but depend on the level of amputation. It would have limited functionality. The electronics part, the electronic counterpart, in the other hand, could provide more wiggle room and also be easier to update and improve the software. So this type device tend to be really expensive. It could range from 40K to 200,000 US dollar, and the price could depend on material as well as type of sensors and number of them. Tend to be they would be approximately 8 to 16 sensors, and with the goal to reduce the price to be more suitable for the Vietnamese market, we create a system that can run with an AI, could have the ability to predict 6 basic poses as well as run only on 2 channels. And the system proposal that we have come up with would have 4 main modules, which are namely prosthetic hand shape design, basic hand movement learning, servo parameter estimation, and as well as control modules. The first part is the prosthetic hand shape design. At this stage, it is kind of simple design, and we try to mimic the real finger trajectory by taking account the phalanx length and the hip and MP joint rotation degree. And what we come up with is this design, and that is the final print. That is the final printed result. So the next part is the basic hand movement learning, aka the AI itself. We choose SCMG signal because it is one of the things that directly have relation with how we move our body. SCMG is surface electromyographic. It indicates the level of activation of our muscle, of which the sensor is put on top of. So we take a look at these 2 diagrams. We can see that at 2 channel, and look at the orange graph. At both diagrams, we can see that the graph of the pose 1 is different than that of other pose, and we could make the AI learn the relation between the signal and the pose that is performed. that is being performed. And to do that, we normalize the data and take an end sample of it, reshape it into an image, and put that as an input for the CNN itself. The CNN has it is not that big because we want it has somewhat real-time application. It has to run fast as well. I don't want it to have to require a supercomputer to run it as well. So that is the structure, and the best history we can come up with is that it looked kind of rough, but on evaluation it yields the accuracy of 58% and performed best with the hook movement at 66. The next part is to actually moving the hand after we got the prediction. It is a finite state machine at which we map the value of servo rotation for each pose, and as we can see, the first part of the table is for the 6 pose for the AI. The AI could predict, and the other is something that it could not, and to be customized by the user. The final modules is the control modules. It is the things that hold everything together, and this is a GIF RPC server with the AI server, the mobile phone, the mobile app, as well as the robot server as client or stuck as in gRPC terminology. And with that, we got that the whole system working. And I forgot to talk about the mobile app itself. The mobile app itself allows the user to not only choose which mode it is running in, but like for example, manual or the AI mode. In the manual mode, we could select what pose we want to do directly on the mobile app, and we have that little demo over here. How do I play? How do I play? Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. The first part of it is directly controlled by via the physical button on the board itself, and then the later part, which is gonna be around 10 seconds, 12 seconds later, is choosing via the mobile app interface, and then finally is running on the data set that we have applied before. So that is that's going to take a while, so see it? All right, just keep it all together. And in conclusion, we have successfully designed and developed an HMI prosthetic hand with 4 fingers capable of performing 6 fundamental movements based on the SMG signal, as well as greater mobile application for controlling the arm with a wider range of gesture, thereby enhancing the flexibility and assistance provided by the robotic arm. And the research finding offer a practical solution for individuals who have lost their arms and lack access to specialized device for their daily activities or at one affordable price. Though in that sense, this is still phase 1, and after the first iteration, we have realized it has a lot of shortcomings. And though phase 2 is still in development, we have some drastic changes in not only the hand design itself like that, but also switch from Bluetooth communication protocol to Wi-Fi, as well as change from mobile app to web app, and even the actuator as well. So that's about it. Thank you for listening, and I would love to hear your opinion as well as question about the project.
Thank you. Very good research work.
So,
I don't know if there is some. No question.
So
Thank you. So the next paper, it's on. The title is Garmento, a modular virtual clothes trial system for fashion manufacturers, and the author is Ty Bildo. The second author is Fan Louis Hanke. It's online. Probably check.
All right. So good afternoon, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you, and you can share the screen and start.
Yeah. So to maintain the time, so I will share the recording of my presentation. So let me know if you cannot hear the audio from that, please.
But can you
No.
we don't allow video presentation. We want a live presentation. Can you perform the presentation in real time?
Use your presentation. I think I can present it, but it would take longer for the next ones. So yeah, this is also my presentation. So only it is recorded. So yeah, there is no difference, and you can ask follow-up questions. Yeah, because
The video are not okay.
are not allowed.
We don't accept.
You have to make the real presentation. Yeah, all right. So don't worry. Yeah. So yeah, wait for me for a little bit. Yeah. So you see the screen now?
Yes.
Yeah. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the presentation about a modular virtual try-on system for fashion manufacturers, which I call the Garmento. And I finished it under the guidance of Mr. Fan Zui Hung, which is my teacher. And yeah, for the name, the garment means clothes, and TO means try-on. So that's why I chose the name for a virtual try-on application. So yeah, for today's presentation, I will for this application, I will focus more about how I build the application and not so much about the model that power it. Yeah. So let's begin. So first of all, this is a little bit about myself. I would say that I am a passionate learner who likes to catch up with the latest trends in software engineering. So I would like to find something new in my free time, and that is the reason why I came up with the this research. So I would like to think more about what we can do to improve the fashion business. So yeah, this is a table of contents. First thing I would talk about would be why I choose this research matter. Next one would be the backing business flow for the Gameto system. So what would be how yeah. So the next one would be the architecture which will power the Gameto system, and finally would be the conclusion and the future work as well. Yeah. So first one, why do I choose to build a virtual trial system? So maybe you have known that there are a lot of available platforms for virtual trying on. Like for glasses, we have Iconic. For makeup, we have L'Oreal. And for even clothes, we have one very famous name, which is PictoFit by Reactive Reality. Yeah, so we know that we have a lot of available platforms, but what are their shortcomings? So yeah, for Iconic or L'Oreal, they are kind of business to consumer platforms. Like they help the customers to try on products before buying. After the product has been published, so it does not help much in product design and development. And on the other hand, such systems as PixelFit, it provides the virtual try-on for businesses, and it helps in product design and development. But since it is an off-the-shelf solution, so it comes with limited integrations and customizability. Yeah. So due to these shortcomings, I would like to build a system that is modular, customizable, and integrable. Yeah. So modular here means that it can be easy. Modular and customizable means that it can be easily customized to suit to the target business that it is designed for. And integrable means that it easily integrates into the current ecosystem of the business. So that is why I would like to build another virtual try-on system. So next up, I will propose where the governmental system can be integrated to existing ecosystems. So yeah, this is the flow that I propose. That is a very traditional flow for fashion businesses. So we have on the high level 5 stages. First one is to create a design. Second one is to fit on real mannequins. Next one would be review. Review means that the manager will take a look at the design and see if it is suitable for publish or not. And if it is not suitable, then we come back to the create and fit stage to revise the design. After the design is approved, then it gets published. And finally, when it enters the market, then the customer can go to the shops and perform real try-on. So that is a very common flow for fashion businesses. So here I propose some extension, some integration points. So in the create stage, we have not used the Gameto yet, but we create the 2D design to be uploaded to the system. And the Gameto would be the most useful in the fit stage, where we can use virtual mannequins to perform try-on instead of having to, create prototypes and do the try-on on the mannequins, and just to realize that the design is not suitable, and then we have throwaway prototypes. So in this stage, I can say that Gameto would be beneficial and would save material. And the Gameto can be also helpful when we have the review and publish stage, because so in Gameto we can create a design and submit it for review, and then the managers can review many designs at once, and he can easily publish it. And finally, the Gameto is also helpful as a widget embedded on the product details page, so that customer can go to the page, look at the details, and perform try-on with their own body image. Yeah. All right. So to realize that idea, we will have architectural design, and here I will try my best to prove that the system, the design that I made is modular and customizable. Yeah, because previously in the previous part, I provided the integration points so that I can say the Gameto system is integrable. Right. So the tool that I use for architectural design is the C4 diagrams. We have 4 levels of details. First one is the context diagram. Next is the container, and yeah, we also have 2 levels beyond that. But due to the shortage of time, I would only discuss 2 highest level of details. So first one is the context diagram. So it depicts where the new system will be situated within existing systems. Like here we have on the diagram, we have the Gameto system would be the new system that we would like to be built. And it is used by not only the design staff or the manager in the company, in the fashion company, but also used by the consumer or the customer who is interested in the product and buying the product. So the system, it integrates with the email system to send the notifications of approval to the managers. It obviously it has to integrate with an authentication and authorization system. Yeah, because only the company staff would be able to use the system for, help in the design and the research and development. And then we have the asset management system, which is also very commonly available. That is used that we use to store the designs and the final try-on images for review. And finally, we have the e-commerce system, which is also very commonplace for fashion companies to allow their customer to have the e-shopping experience. So the e-commerce system would use the Gameto system in the form of a web widget for virtual try-on functionality in the product details page, like I said before. And it also uses the asset management system. Actually, this error is a little bit out of scope, so we don't have to pay much attention about that. So yeah, this is how the Gameto system sit among the other systems. So with only this level of detail, we have not yet have much details to start implementation. So we have to decompose the system further. So that's why we have the container diagram, which shows the components like the execution unit that composes this application. So here, I don't know if I can zoom in a little bit, but yeah. So within the dashed rectangle, we have the applications that will comprise the Gameto system. So the first one is the internal web application, which is actually an internal front-end web app, because it is where the garment design app perform virtual try-on and submit the design for review and also approve the design. And it is only used by the internal staff of the company. Okay, so this application is only the front end side. So the backend that powers it is the design management API, which provides design management, and it helps in organizing the designs for review and publish, and also power the virtual try-on application on the internal side. Is the heart of this system, the try-on API application, which provide the try-on functionalities via JSON HTTP API. Yeah, so that the container try-on API is also the backbone for the front-end widget that is used by the consumer on the product page. That is listed here as the e-commerce integrated try-on extension. All right. So the extension is actually like a very small front-end application that is exported and embedded on the e-commerce system, the e-commerce website of the company. Yeah. And to power the try-on API application, we have so normally we can have the the machine learning model that is embedded in the try-on application. But in case, so we want the system to be modular. We also want the model to be independently upgradable. So that's why we split it into a separate component called the model registry API, which manage the models. And here in the Gameto, we only touch on the aspect of model versioning. But in the future, I will discuss later. But we would like to perform advanced machine learning operations, ML ops tasks on this container. And also we have the data stores, and the integration to the external systems is have been depicted in the previous picture, so I would not discuss them more here. So that is about the containers and about the deployment. So we can skip the more detail, more fine-grained details like the class diagram or beyond that. But for the deployment, I think I would present it here to make it clear that our system is modular because it consists of a lot of modules, and each module is independently scalable and interchangeable. Yeah. So in the deployment, so the technologies here are just provided for reference. In reality, instead of using Python or Fast API, we can use Kotlin Spring or Node.js, Express.js. So that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is we export the services, we expose the services via HTTP APIs, and we'll be okay. So here you can see that apart from the API gateway and the service registry, it almost 100% mirrors the container diagram we presented before. Yeah. Why we have that? Because so we chose the approach that used the microservices. So that's what we also took into account when we decompose the system into individual containers. And in the microservice world, we have a very famous tool called Docker, which which manage the applications via the use of containers. So here we use the container diagram to list the containers, Docker containers to be used in Docker. And here, all of these containers we listed are here. The access management service is a container. Try on web is a container. Yeah, so designer web is the internal web application here. Try on services is a container. Catalog service can also be a container or not. And the databases, they live outside the applications. Model registry is also the container. So using the containers, it is very convenient if we want to first is swap out the component for better versions, or maybe we can deploy these containers to a container orchestration platform like Kubernetes, and that platform will provide us with the capability to individually scale the containers. So it can help to scale our containers. So maybe at one moment we have a spike in the number of visitors. So the trial service will have to work harder and harder. So we can scale the trial service with 2 or 3 replicas, and maybe at night we don't have many customers, so we can scale it down to only 1 container. Yeah, so that is very convenient if we deploy the system to Kubernetes. Okay, so yeah, for the deployment, I would say that it is modular because it allows swapping and upgrading individual components, and also it is customizable because we own the application, obviously, and it is also scalable and also individually scalable because we can scale each container individually without affecting other containers. Yeah. All right, so now is the conclusion. So yeah, for the result, it is a very customizable, modular, and also scalable try-on platform. And yeah, it allows us to have fine-grained cost control, and we don't have to pay for the features that we don't use. If we use an off-the-shelf solution like PictoFit, we pay for everything they offer. But if we only use a subset of their feature set, then it would be a waste of money. Yeah. So it allows us to have good cost control. But there are also many other many room for further explorations. So yeah, like I said previously, we can explore the integration of a full machine learning ops flow, not just model versioning here. And we can also explore the use of 3D or video or augmented reality try-on. And also we can have UI UX enhancements. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of my presentation. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and thank you for listening. So I think you forgot to turn on your microphone.
Okay. Any question? No question from the audience here. Can you explain a bit which are the UI UX enhancement you are thinking about?
You want me to share about the future thoughts of UI UX or the current state of UI UX?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm asking whether you want to see the current UI UX or my future thoughts of it.
Future work.
Yeah, future work. Yeah.
Future work of UI UX. This slide, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I think it would be so the first version I built is it only has the minimal UI UX that we have a column to the left, a column to the right, and a button at the center. But it would be beneficial to create the themes for that. So that would be one UI UX enhancement that I am thinking of. But I think if the system get published, then we will have more ideas for UI UX enhancements. Yeah. So any other questions?
No other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And I would like to stop my sharing here.
Yes. So the next paper is this one. Okay. The title is sorry for the pronunciation. Is TQ VR, an immersive virtual reality application introducing the captivating art of the tube. And the presenter is Cha Mati. Mati. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. We need to open. Yeah. Okay. This one.
Yes.
Just a moment. Okay. I need to. Okay, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here to present my paper, the Ethiopia, an immersive VR application, introducing captivating art of the video publishing. I come from HMI Lab, University of Engineering and Technology. I'm excited to share with you about the idea, the design, development, and the main feature of the video VR. Let's go in detail. And my presentation In my presentation, I will give you a brief overview about the digital puppetry in Vietnam. And next is our proposal. The core of the paper is the digital VR application, which use VR technology to bring the digital puppetry into life and engaging the audience into immersive experience. And in the demos, you can witness the VR application. And the final is conclusion session. VR is rapidly technologies which can transform the user into 3D digital environment. So by hearing the headsets, the individual can navigate and interact within the environment. Bring a big capability to entertain education, cultural preserve. Uh, Digital puppetry is a unique and century-old Vietnamese folk art form. Uh, is used wooden puppet, wooden puppet manipulated by a performer behind a curtain. So with mesmerizing movement and blend narrative, the user can enhance it by the want of detail, uh, yes, detail puppetry. But in the modern life, uh, detail puppetry face a big reach. For example, the detail puppetry fit can make fit from uh, uh, conscious niche, public conscious niche, especially among younger generation. So in our approach, we give a new ways to message or transform the message to the audience. So we develop detail via application. Detail publishers belong to Detail Village at Miduk District, Hanoi City in Vietnam, were recognized as a national intangible cultural heritage by Ministry of Culture, Sport and Tourism in 2020. And a detailed puppetry performance typically consists of 5 to 7 episodes, of which each episode lasting from 6 to 8 minutes, about agricultural production activities, the heroic struggle of nations and local history, or religious practice, belief, and social custom. Data VR leverage on VR technology, and it's the foundation of data VR is based on database of 3D model of data puppets and a virtual museum and a collection of 3D model of Vietnamese objects related to data puppetry. To bring immersive and engaging experience for user, we designed a virtual museum with 4 area, 4 distinct area called waiting room, media room, exhibition hall, interactive experience space. When the user enters the museum, a great horns great gem with Vietnamese architectural element. And in media zoom, the user can learn about the process of puppet making, or they learn about the history of detailed puppetry and the archivement of detailed artisans. In the exhibition halls, we have 4 small areas related to 4 episodes. And the last space is about interactive experience space. In this space, user can enjoy a creative game. This is an image of a waiting room. In this area, the user can see some 3D model of traditional Vietnamese objects. For example, in this picture is Bachan ceramic vase. Bachan is very famous in Vietnam. In the media rooms, user can see the process of puppet making and the technical material to make a puppet. And they also explore about the archivement from artisans and the history of the detailed puppetry. In the puppet exhibition space, we divide into 4 small areas related to 4 episodes: buffalo fighting, Texan fight, jumping, one out singing, and the cleverness of ourselves. For each episode, we give the narrative and the 3D model of the page, and the user can find out the message from the narrative and the shape of puppets. And in the interactive experience play, user can enjoy a game of creating a puppet, a complete puppet by assembling different puppet components to make a complete one. And when enjoy the virtual museum, the user can navigate inside the museum and they can interact with the object through the teleport, and they can view, they can open, they can listen, they can watch document material from the artisan. These documents of different kinds, such as text, image, audio, or video, or 3D model. And in this slide is the demo of our application. How can I place this video?
Chào mừng bạn đến với Bảo tàng ảo giới thiệu dối tế tiêu. Hôm nay, tôi ở đây để giới thiệu cũng như minh họa những tính năng của bảo tàng. Đây là khu vực phòng chờ, nơi người dùng sẽ xuất hiện đầu tiên khi bắt đầu tham quan bảo tàng. Đây là khu vực phòng giới thiệu. Đây là nơi trưng bày những tư liệu ảnh, video, tài liệu cùng một số vật trưng bày không phải dối của lại dối tế tiêu. liệu đơn giản,
and how to
dùng gì
make puppets.
đưa cuộc sống lao động bằng những câu chuyện đơn giản.
And the art department for artisans. Narrative. This is famous artisans from Teo village.
Đây là phòng trưng bày rối, nơi chứa thông tin về các con rối, tích trò. Để minh họa tính năng trong phòng này, tôi sẽ sử dụng các phần thuộc tích trò trí khôn của ta đây.
This is an area about our cleverness episodes. This is a narrative. Yeah. Okay, next one.
Chào mừng bạn đến với Bảo.
Việt Nam từ xưa vốn là một nền văn minh lúa nước, vì vậy nông dân chính là thành phần chủ yếu của xã hội Việt Nam từ xưa.
Inside the museum, like watching video.
Và đây là căn phòng cuối cùng, phòng ghép rối. Trong phòng này, người dùng có thể sử dụng những bộ phận rối để tái tạo lại con rối đó. Để minh họa tính năng của phòng này, tôi sẽ thực hiện lắp hoàn chỉnh con rối gạch xanh.
Can you finish? So we designed a material museum to display the Teo puppetries, and we wish to bring the Teo puppetry into life. We wish to educate younger generations and preserve the Teo puppetries. And in this material museum, we built 4 areas, and we built and developed 4 episodes and an interactive game. Yes, that's my presentation.
Other questions? In the paper, it's written that you use Blender to construct the museum space and the movements. But how you animate the machine?
Yeah.
Which software did you use?
So the core of our application is a database of 3D model. So to make a 3D model, we use Blender. However, to make the app, we use Unity.
Unity?
Yes, exactly.
But I was not sure.
Okay,
yeah. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So the last presentation. So the final presentation of this session is the following. Testing anchors, user experience, and usability among the 4 being elements in a candy experience, candy immersive augmented reality. So,
Jesse,
you
can you unmute the phone? Jesse?
Probably the microphone is but it is behind the PC. Maybe I don't know.
Can you hear us?
Jesse, can you hear us? Can you unmute the phone, the mic? Chensing, can you hear us? Yes, changing, we cannot hear you because the mic is muted and the camera is off.
Left the meeting.
Right. She left the meeting, probably she forgot to write the consensus for the use of the mic. And changing, eventually, can you change browser? I don't know which one are you using.
You can try Chrome or Firefox.
Yeah. Can you try Chrome? Don't rush. We wait for you. When you open Jitsi, the system prompts you to allow the use of mic and camera.
browser non riesce. Dire che il browser che non riesce a...
No, il microfono.
Allora, esatto. Oppure rispondeva.
Hello?
Allora, il microfono così.
Hello? Can you hear us? Chelsea?
Can you write something, Chelsea, so that we can help you?
Hello, Shanxi. Can you hear us? Hello? No, just a moment. Which browser are you using right now? Because probably that is going to see Firefox got some trouble. Can you use Chrome? We cannot see your screen. And also, we, we cannot hear you. Okay, this is the main problem. If you are able to reach the room with your phone, if you want, you can present your paper via mobile phone without slide. You can just talk about your paper. Shanxi, the main issue is not the screen sharing, in my opinion.
We can hear you.
It's the audio. Can you check your microphone? The screen sharing is not the most important thing. We need to hear you. No, we cannot hear you. We cannot hear you. Shensing. The main issue is the audio.
It is okay, but we cannot see, we cannot hear you, mainly. Apart the screen sharing that is not working, but we cannot hear you.
Io l'ho scritto, però non lo leggo. Ok.
Can you speak now?
Shensing, you can present.
You can do it, but we cannot hear you. This is the problem.
Can you see my screen sharing?
Lascia perdere. Leva io magari.
Ma no, come fa? Non legge, non vede, non fa niente proprio. Cosa vedrà? Possiamo interrompere la diretta. Questa che è? Stop.
Sì, stop.